Hello and welcome to the channel. I hope you've been enjoying your summer. I've had a pretty busy one myself, hence the lack of videos. My apologies to those of you that are interested in that. Fall's coming up and it's time to make some more videos. And firstly, I just want to make a comment about the introduction animation that you might have seen at the beginning of the video. Very cool. I'm a teacher and I asked two of the grade 10 students, these are two 15-year-old guys, if they would design me an animated intro for this particular channel and these guitar videos, and I think they did an absolutely amazing job. It was really, really cool, the animations that they did for that, and I just want to say a very big thank you to Luca and Riddick for doing that. So thanks guys, that's awesome. We're going to see that introduction at the front end of each of the videos going forward. So about 3 years ago or so, I made a video called Chibson versus Gibson, a comparison of Les Pauls. And it's a video documenting these two guitars that are behind me that we're going to look at in a sec. The video itself is my most successful guitar-based video, and it's also the most controversial ones because I've got a lot of hate from people for putting this Chinese guitar into a video. This video currently is a follow-up video to sort of answer some questions, give some opinions about what I feel about playing these different guitars after years have passed and modifications have occurred, and also to give you a comparison between them all. And being the sequel, like in movies, you gotta kind of take the body count up in the sequels, so they say. So we've got a third Les Paul here we're gonna look at, which is a Les Paul Studio, and it's a friend of mine, so he was kind enough to lend me that, so thank you, Justin. And we're gonna listen to all three of them. And what we're gonna do in this video is initially it's gonna be a blind comparison. We're just gonna label them as guitar 1, guitar 2, guitar 3, and what amp and pickup setting that they're on, and you won't see the guitar in the video. What I'd love for you to do is make your own judgment calls about it rather than believing the hype that's out there. Explore things for yourself. That's the only way you're truly gonna learn. And at the end of the video, I'm going to show the video part with the guitar so you'll know which one was which, and I'll make some comments about what I think about some of these instruments. So I hope you enjoy this. I hope it's informative. So let's first talk about amps. We're going to run these guitars, all three of them, through 3 different amps to give you a variety of tones. First, we're going to be using a Clark Beaufort, and the Clark is a tweed amp. It's pretty much an exact replica, or as close as you get, to a 50s Fender Tweed Deluxe, which is the 5E3 circuit, for those of you that know that. The Beaufort's an excellent amplifier. It's equipped with a Celestion Alnico Blue speaker, which is really, really nice. And I'm not driving it to get the sort of gritty sound, I'm just going for a clean tone, and the samples are going to be rhythmically based clean tones, particularly focusing on arpeggios, and I'm playing some well-known songs that you're probably going to recognize in the examples. After that, we're going to move to Fender Twin Blackface with the reverb on for some clean leads, and finally we're going to run it into Marshall TSL in the middle channel, the dirty channel, with the gain not turned up super high to give some articulation to it. And I'll play some riffs, again, pretty well-known ones, and I'll do some, the riffs are going to be on the bridge pickup, and I'll do some lead on the neck pickup. I've tried to keep all the riffs and examples as close as the same as possible, and with the lead parts, I'm improvising, but I've stuck with the same key, C minor in the Fender example, and A pentatonic in the Marshall example. Another thing to try to keep all 3 guitars, which we're going to talk about next, in line, and there's no pedals being used in this video, everything is just straight into the amp to try to keep it as pure as possible. I restrung all these guitars with the same strings, they're 10 to 46 Ernie balls. They were all restrung yesterday so that they have these, as close as possible, and I go through the neck and the bridge and the mid settings for all of them. Let's talk about the details of each guitar. We have the Chibson itself. This is a copy of the Slash AFD guitar. There's another two videos, the comparison one obviously, and then the upgraded video. You can check those out if you like as well. This guitar was made in 2015. That's when I got it. It is based on a 2010 model though. Not that that really matters. It has been modded quite a bit from its original form. If you've watched the other video, the tuners are Gibson tuners. The switch and the poke chip are Gibsons, and the bridge is a Gibson bridge as well, which had to be rerouted to fit that. And the pickups are the Seymour Duncan / El Nico 2 Pro signature set, obviously to fit with the guitar. So, I mean, greatly improves this guitar as a result. The next guitar is my Sunburst Classic. This is a Gibson Les Paul Classic. It's from 1996. There's two other videos about this one, and it's stock say one about the upgraded pickups. Everything is pretty stock on this instrument the way it came, except the pickups have been changed out. It used to have those hot ceramic pickups that the Classics come with that a lot of people don't really like. These ones are boutique pickups. These are Wolfetones, hand wound in the US. This is a Dr. Vintage in the neck, and this is a Marshall head in the bridge. There's another video that talks more in depth about those if you're interested in that. Otherwise, yeah, great guitar. It's got a 60s profile neck, so much slimmer, and all the pots are exactly the same stock ones in all these guitars. None have been changed, so that might factor into it. This is the Les Paul Studio. It's a Gibson, obviously. This guitar dates to 1998, and it is a good friend of mine's guitar. It's his main guitar. If you can see any close-ups at all, there's some wear here from him gigging this thing. As far as I know, it is as stock as you get. There are Grover tuners on it. I don't know if he installed those or if it came with those Grovers, but either way, pretty sure this is your standard Les Paul pickups, a 490R Gibson in the neck and a 498 in the bridge position, which are pretty normal, good sounding Gibson pickups. So keep that in mind. This one has that nice green finish to it. Normally you see the sort of dark red look to it, but you know, a little bit more unique. And it's got a chunkier neck than the other two guitars. This definitely feels more like a kind of a 58, more like a 59 maybe, but you know, that kind of earlier Sunburst, even though it's not a Sunburst, but that fatter kind of chunky neck that it has. So some comments about this guitar. Okay, so the truth is, I bought this as an experiment. I did end up spending more money into this instrument than perhaps was merited. However, I've been using it live for 3 years. Gigging for me it's not my bread and butter, it's to put back into music to learn. And as a teacher and an instructor, I can't emphasize that enough. And you're not really going to learn things unless you take risks, spend a bit of coin, and see what works for you. Truthfully, honestly, now there's no hype about this guitar anymore for me, just like what I like and dislike about it. So first off, let's start up here and we'll work our way down. I don't know if it's the tuners themselves or the bridge or the combo of both, but this guitar stays in tune really, really, really well. Now all three did actually. When I picked them up to tune them before the start of the video, they all sounded really, really good in terms of their intonation. And you know, I stretched the strings last night and whatnot, but they all stayed in tune really well. But this one in particular, I just noticed at gigs, like I'll take it outside, it's hot or cold, and I take it out of the case at a show, and it's almost always bang on in tune. I don't have any slippage problems at gigs. So if you're gonna go this route and you're gonna take the time to upgrade, again, I don't know if it's just the tuners or the bridge or the combo. It's probably a combo of both, is I'm guessing, but I really feel like the tuners are doing a lot. These are just like Gibson tuners, a normal one. They're slightly the greener color ones rather than the cream colored ones that one has. You know, and that one's got Grovers, which are good too, and would do the job just fine. So in terms of tuning stability, this guitar is really, really good. I have no problems with that side of it. The initial technician told me that this was a bone nut in here, which I found hard to believe. First of all, the nut was jutting up really, really high compared to most guitars. It no longer is, we'll talk about that. But that a bone nut would come with a Chinese guitar. I was surprised it wasn't just plastic. He did not want to change the nut, even though I had bought a Tusk nut at the time, and it just kind of felt like he just didn't want to do that job. And then I took it to a second tech for some more work, and the second tech told me that this was just a plastic piece of junk, and that first tech had deceived me, which I was a little upset about, and I knew the second tech better, so I was more inclined to believe him. Finally, I decided to go to a third tech to just replace the nut at that point, because the second tech hadn't done that, and the third tech called me and said, this is a bone nut. He even called me in, and we filed a bit off and checked it, and sure enough, it was a bone nut. So pretty weird. First tech turned out to be right. Second tech was deceived himself. So again, like, these are people, this is their professional business, and I got different answers from each one. But the truth is, it actually did come with a bone nut. I had the third tech file it down so it's nice and low, just like the profile of the other ones. and it works great. And sustaining that is really good. The biggest flaw I found, because really, other than the pots and the end of the bridge here, the tailpiece, all that's been kept that's from the Chinese original is the wood, and that's obviously super important. I gotta say, the neck has warped a bit over the years, and perhaps that's normal on some of your instruments, but it did not happen on this guitar. So comparing the Classic to the Chibson, the Classic received a setup, I think it was about 5 years ago, and the neck is totally straight. There's been no warpage or anything like that. Whereas this one received a setup 3 years ago, and it's starting to bow out down here around the 12th fret. So it needs a truss rod adjustment. Not really a big deal, but you do see that the wood is not on the same level as that, obviously. And again, I never said in the original video that this is better or that I'm condoning buying this over that. I'm just saying this was a cheap instrument. This is an expensive instrument. Depending on your budget, I wouldn't just write this off as total garbage. In its original state, yeah, the hardware and the pickups are garbage. I agree. I think I praised them a bit more in the original video because I hadn't given it time, but the original tuners just slip out of tune and the pickups just sounded weak. A lot of people commented in the original video that it sounds like a Tele, which kind of did, oddly, for humbuckers, but when you change them out, it sounds like a Les Paul. So the neck, not the best. The frets have never really been polished, and I do notice a bit of stickiness. They probably should get it polished. They don't match that one. But my buddy's studio, I guess he hasn't had that done in a while, and I did notice some stickiness on there. So frets are frets. I mean, it doesn't really matter the branding on that, in my opinion. get into the pickups themselves, I noticed in this comparison, these ones sounded brighter than the other two guitars. I found the Studio to be the darkest, probably because it doesn't have a maple cap, and maybe those particular Gibson pickups in there are a bit warmer, but there was more warmth in the Classic than this one. Now these are the stock alpha pots that came, the Chinese one. They have not been changed out, but neither are those Gibson ones. They are a bit brighter, but I gotta say live, I don't have any feedback problems. I get really good tone for what I want, and the brightness of the clean tone cuts through nicely, and dirty channel sounds good. You know, like I don't have issues at all with this rolling off the tone. It does the job that it needs to do, and I'll be totally honest here of like why I actually use this guitar live, because some people might be like, why are you going to use this when you've got all of that? With the band I'm playing with right now, some of the places we play are a bit rougher. Recently I had speaker dropped on me, which I had to catch with my arm and protect the guitar and the pedal board. I've had lights dropped on me. Our bass player had a woman fall over his monitor who was dancing, didn't notice it because she was had her back to him, fell over. I step out into the audience sometimes. People hit the guitar, they want to come over and touch it and all that sort of stuff. And to be honest with you, I love this guitar. It's 20 years old and I'm never going to sell it, and I don't want things falling on it or getting nicks and scratches. And if you like that sort of relic beat up look, great. I don't. I want this thing to look as pristine as it can, and in 20 or 40 more years still have it in great shape. Whereas this guitar, if it gets banged up a bit or nicked or whacked around a bit, I don't really care so much, right? It was a $400 guitar, right? Nothing's gonna happen to the pickups or the electronics unless somebody spills a beer on you or something, but that's unlikely. So I don't really mind that. Also, it does take a bit of abuse live, and I do kind of move it around a lot, and that could be contributing to why the neck is warped as well. It's hard to say. This guitar doesn't really see the light of day anymore live. It's just for home usage, so it's a bit difficult to compare it that way, okay? So keep all these things in mind. At the end of the day, I'd way rather play the Gibson. It's way nicer to play. The neck feels better, the body weight feels better, everything is better about it, and I'd much rather do it. And I'd much rather step on stage with that guitar. And when we do play on a proper stage and there's no audience like right at you, I do bring that guitar out, or other guitars. But when I'm playing on the floor at a pub and there's drunk people like thrashing around and behaving like morons, which often is the case, this guitar is there for that reason, to give me a Les Paul sound with nice pickups and the feel generally of a Les Paul without worrying about scratches or bangs and nicks or all that sort of business. So that's the main reason I have this, other than an experiment, and hopefully to show you something, the viewer, as part of this journey that I've had with these particular instruments. I do have to say, a lot of people wrote, why didn't you just buy a Studio like this one? It would cost about the same as what this cost. But I never liked the Studio's lack of binding in the neck. This guitar feels like what a Les Paul should be. I got used to the feel of the Standard or the Classic, and the Studios are just a bit chunky and a bit unrefined. Nothing against them, they're great guitars, just not my thing. So this one, it's a little bit smoother, which I prefer. So there you have it, a comparison of Les Pauls, part 2, Chibson versus Gibson. I hope you enjoyed that. Curious about what your picks were, which guitar was which. Please comment about that. I'd love for you to write that you thought it was this one was guitar 1 and this one was guitar 2 and this one's guitar 3. If you were surprised, if you nailed it, please tell us. I'd really like to hear your feedback on that. I hope this was a more sincere and educated viewpoint in a lot of ways to some of the criticisms that some people had prior to. And I hope you continue to watch the videos. Please hit subscribe and like on the videos, and I'll see you next time.